Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. This time, we're going to be tackling something that I think affects pretty much everyone to some degree or another,
Yeah.
and that's fear. We'll be taking a close look at this piece called Turn Fear into Fuel. Unlock your inner strength
Okay.
to try and learn how we can maybe transform what's often a pretty crippling emotion, right, into a force for growth and achievement.
Mm. Mm. I was just thinking about it, and I can think of so many times when fear has just totally held me back.
Oh, yeah.
Missed opportunities, anxieties, winning out. But then I think back on those moments and the times I actually pushed through those fears.
Yeah.
I was able to accomplish some pretty cool things.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that kind of echoes what this source is saying, that fear itself isn't necessarily a bad thing.
Right.
It's a survival mechanism, right? It's something that we can harness and use. So I'm really curious to get your take on that. What are your initial thoughts? Well, it's super interesting, isn't it? I mean, if you think about it, that fear response is what kept our ancestors alive out on the savannah, right? Alerting them to danger.
Mm-hmm.
But these days, it might be something like public speaking that triggers it.
Yeah.
Or taking a career risk. But it invokes a lot of those same physiological responses.
Right.
So I think the real key here is learning to figure out
Yeah.
how to tell the difference between the fear that's actually protecting us
Right.
from legitimate threats and the kind that's maybe just holding us back from growth.
So it's almost like, would you say, it's like a compass
Yeah.
that's pointing us toward those areas that we need to work on,
Yeah.
even if those areas might seem a little scary at first.
Exactly. Yeah. It's recognizing that sometimes that compass is guiding us toward a place where there's an opportunity,
Okay.
not just like a perceived threat.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So this piece lays out 5 main strategies
Okay.
to kind of take that fear and turn it into something more productive. The first one they talk about is this idea of recognize.
Mm.
And basically what they mean by that is acknowledging that fear, instead
Yeah.
of just trying to bury it or pretend it's not there.
Right.
And they suggest asking yourself a few key questions. They say, why am I afraid?
Mm-hmm.
What's the worst that could happen?
Mm-hmm.
And then what can I learn from this fear?
Yeah.
What do you think makes those particular questions so helpful?
Well, I think they're so powerful because they take that fear,
Right.
which can just be this big, overwhelming thing,
Yep.
and they break it down into smaller, more manageable chunks.
Okay.
So instead of letting it just loom large, you actually analyze what's at the root of it
Right.
and gain a clearer picture of it.
Okay. So the second strategy they talk about is reframe. And this really focuses on shifting our perspective,
Okay.
looking at fear more as a challenge rather than a threat.
Right.
So instead of, I'm terrified to give this presentation, you might reframe it and say, hey, this is a chance for me to get better at public speaking.
Yeah.
Does that seem overly simplistic, or is there more to it?
It might sound simple,
Right.
but there's actually a lot of psychology behind that.
Okay.
Because when we reframe something as a challenge, it actually changes the way we respond, both emotionally and physiologically.
Yeah.
It takes us from, oh my God, I'm scared, I can't move, to, okay, this is something I can work with and engage with.
That's so interesting because it reminds me, I have a fear of heights, and it's always kind of stopped me from doing certain things.
Uh-huh.
But recently, I've been trying to view it more as a challenge,
Yeah.
And it's kind of amazing how much of a difference it's made in terms of how I experience it.
It's a perfect example, right?
Yeah.
Taking a fear,
Yeah.
transforming it into something positive, that helps you grow.
Yeah.
That's great.
It's not about becoming totally fearless, right?
Right.
It's about those little wins along the way.
Exactly.
Building on those.
Absolutely, yeah. Each step forward, however small it seems, is just more evidence that you can handle it, And it's this repeated exposure, this piece calls it exposure therapy, that eventually lessens that fear's power.
Okay.
It just keeps getting weaker each time you face it.
So like if someone's really afraid of public speaking, they wouldn't jump right into a TED Talk. They'd start by maybe practicing with friends,
Exactly.
recording themselves.
Yeah.
Baby steps.
Totally, yeah. Gradually increase that exposure,
Okay.
but make sure it's in a safe environment,
Yeah.
This allows you to build your confidence and prove to yourself one step at a time
Okay.
that you can do it, yeah.
And as we're taking action, that naturally leads us to the next strategy they talk about, which is motivate. And this is where they talk about using the energy of fear itself
Right.
to actually push us forward.
Yeah.
Instead of being paralyzed by it,
Yeah.
we redirect that energy into positive action. How does that actually work in practice?
I think a good way to think about it is that fear can either be like a roadblock, stop, you're going to fail. Or it can be this huge motivational force. Hey, you're going to miss out on something awesome.
So it's like taking control of the story, right?
Totally.
Fear's not the director anymore. It's just one character in the play.
Exactly. And think about all the amazing entrepreneurs and inventors throughout history.
Yeah.
Many of them were fueled by a fear of failure.
Right.
Or fear of being mediocre or missing out on an opportunity.
Uh-huh.
They harnessed that, and it drove them to incredible success.
And that kind of brings us to the last strategy they discuss, which is resilience. And I feel like this is really crucial.
Oh, wow.
Because facing fear isn't just a one-time thing, right? It's an ongoing process.
Oh, for sure. It's like working a muscle, you know? The more you use it, the stronger it gets. Each time you confront a fear, you're building up that mental resilience, proving to yourself you can handle discomfort, deal with challenges, and accomplish more than you ever thought possible, you know?
So celebrating those little victories along the way, that's really important.
Absolutely. Yeah. Recognizing your progress.
Yeah.
Even those small wins, that's a key part of the journey for sure.
So we've talked about a lot, breaking down this idea of fear into these 5 strategies: recognize, reframe, act, motivate, and resilience.
Right.
But I think what really stands out from this piece is that the key to turning fear into fuel is really all about our mindset.
Yeah, you're right on the money with that one.
Yeah.
It's about shifting the way we view it, you know, seeing it not as an enemy, but as a teacher or even a potential ally in a way.
Yeah, that's a really interesting way to put it.
It can be really powerful when you start to look at it that way.
So I guess the question is, how do we actually make that shift, right? It's one thing to understand it intellectually, but how do we start living it out in our day-to-day lives?
Well, I think it starts with paying attention to that inner voice, you know, that self-talk that we all have going on. Are we constantly feeding that fear with thoughts like, I can't do this, or I'm going to mess this up?
Yeah.
Because if we are, we're actually giving it more power.
Right. Like we're almost making it worse without realizing it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
So we have to actively work on replacing those thoughts with ones that are more empowering.
Okay.
Things like, I am capable of learning and growing. This is a challenge, but I can get through it. You know, even it's okay if I make mistakes.
Yeah, it's almost like you're kind of retraining your brain.
Yeah.
To focus on the possibility within the fear.
Absolutely, yeah.
Instead of getting stuck in that negativity.
That's a great way to put it. It's like building that mental muscle of courage and resilience, you know? And the more you practice it, the easier it becomes.
So what about those moments when the fear feels truly overwhelming?
Yeah.
You know, where that fight or flight response kicks in, your heart's racing. You just want to curl up in a ball.
Yeah, I get it.
Any advice for navigating those really intense moments?
Those moments can be really rough, but you can regain control.
Yeah.
You know, one thing that I found to be super helpful,
and
it isn't specifically mentioned in this piece, but it's focusing on your breath.
Okay.
Because when you get hit with that fear response, your breathing tends to get all shallow and rapid.
Right.
So if you can just slow it down, take some nice deep breaths in and out, it can really help to calm your nervous system and get you back to a place of clarity, you know?
It's amazing how powerful something as simple as breathing can be.
Oh, for sure.
You know, in terms of just changing how you feel.
Right.
Like you're hitting the pause button on the fear.
Exactly. And once you've calmed your breathing down a bit, then you can start to apply some of these strategies we've talked about, reframing the situation, breaking it down into smaller steps.
It's really cool because it makes these concepts feel a lot more tangible.
Yeah.
You know, we're taking this abstract idea, fear, and actually making it into something concrete.
Exactly.
With tools and techniques that you can actually use.
That's exactly what we want.
Yeah.
You know? We want people to feel like they have power over their fear.
Right.
Not the other way around.
There's a really great line in this source.
Okay.
Where it says, every time you face fear head on, you're not just overcoming an external challenge.
Yeah.
You're also kind of reshaping your inner world.
I love that. That's so true.
Yeah.
It really speaks to how transformative facing our fears can be, right? It's not just about the outcome. It's about who we become during that process.
Right.
Every time we choose courage over fear, it strengthens our sense of self-efficacy.
Okay.
It builds confidence and expands our ability to grow.
So it's not about checking things off a list.
Right.
It's about how we change internally along the way.
Yeah. And I think that is really what turning fear into fuel is all about, you know?
Yeah.
It's using these challenges as opportunities to evolve and grow stronger,
Okay.
to reach our full potential.
There's a great call to action at the end of this piece.
Oh, yeah.
It says, your potential lies on the other side of fear, so step into it boldly.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. It's a really good reminder that everything we want,
Yeah.
anything that makes us feel truly alive,
Yeah.
it often lies just outside of that comfort zone.
That's such a good point. So as we kind of wrap things up here,
Okay.
what's that one big takeaway you want to leave our listeners with today?
Well, here's a question for you to think about.
Okay.
What is one fear
Yeah.
that you are dealing with right now?
Uh-huh.
And what's the smallest possible step you can take today
Yeah.
to start overcoming it?
It's not about conquering all of your fears overnight, right?
No, not at all.
It's about that initial step,
Exactly.
even if it seems tiny.
Doesn't have to be a big thing, no.
Yeah.
Could be signing up for that class you've been thinking about, having
Yeah.
that difficult conversation you've been putting off. Even just saying the fear out loud to someone you trust.
Yeah.
Sometimes those small actions can be the most powerful ones.
It's true, because every time you choose courage over comfort, you're changing your brain.
Absolutely.
You're building confidence.
For sure.
And you're growing as a person.
And you never know, that one little step could lead you to something incredible.
Yeah.
You know? Could unlock a talent you didn't even know you had.
Right?
Open up amazing new opportunities.
Yeah.
Even help you discover your purpose in life.
Right.
When we choose to face our fears and step into the unknown, the possibilities are endless, really.
This deep dive has been so eye-opening.
Glad to hear it.
We've really explored fear from every angle.
We did.
You know, its biological roots to its potential to help us grow.
Mm-hmm.
We've learned some great strategies for managing and transforming fear,
Right?
and how important our mindset and self-talk are in shaping how we experience it.
And the most important thing to remember,
Yeah.
you have the power to choose how you react to fear. It doesn't have to control you.
Right.
You can use its energy to move forward.
So as you're going through your day today,
Uh-huh.
and you're facing those inevitable challenges and fears,
Yeah.
just remember what we've learned in this deep dive.
Okay.
Recognize that fear, reframe it as a challenge, take action, use it to motivate you, and keep building that resilience.
Absolutely.
And never forget this.
Okay.
True courage isn't the absence of fear, it's acting in spite of it.
That's it.
Keep exploring, keep growing, and keep diving deep into everything that life has to offer.
Well said.
Until next time, remember to really embrace the journey
Yeah.
and never underestimate the incredible power that you have inside.
It's all there.
Yeah, it's true. It's so easy to get caught up in those what ifs
Oh, yeah.
and let anxiety just take over.
Sure.
But you've highlighted something really important.
Okay.
It's those baby steps,
Right.
those small acts of courage
Mm-hmm.
that can actually make a huge difference.
Yeah. Just like that old saying, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, right?
Right, exactly.
We won't have to be fearless overnight.
Right.
It's about those consistent small steps,
Uh-huh.
choosing courage over comfort. And that's what shapes our path, you know?
And what I love about it is that every time we confront a fear, big or small ones,
Yeah.
it teaches us so much about ourselves.
Right.
We learn how resilient we are, how much we can handle,
Uh-huh.
and really how strong we are deep down.
It's a journey of self-discovery, isn't it?
Totally.
Each time we push past those boundaries, we
Yeah.
discover something new about who we are,
Right.
what we're truly capable of.
And oftentimes, I think we end up surprising ourselves
yeah.
with how much strength we actually find within.
Absolutely, yeah.
This has been such an insightful deep dive.
Awesome.
I feel like we've explored fear from every angle,
We covered a lot of ground.
from its biological basis to its potential as this amazing catalyst for growth. We talked about practical strategies for managing and transforming fear.
Right.
And we really dove into how important mindset and self-talk are in shaping our whole experience.
And the biggest takeaway, you have the power to choose how you respond to fear.
Right, you're not just a victim to it.
Exactly.
So as you're going through life
Uh-huh.
and dealing with all the challenges and fears that inevitably come up,
Yeah.
just remember what we talked about today.
Okay.
Recognize that fear. Reframe it into a challenge. Take action. Use it to motivate you.
Uh-huh.
And just keep building that resilience.
Keep practicing.
And one last thing, never forget.
Okay, what's that?
True courage isn't the absence of fear.
Right.
It's taking action even when you're afraid.
Love it.
Keep exploring, keep growing, and keep diving deep into this amazing world around us.
So well said.
And until next time,
Yeah.
remember to embrace the journey and never underestimate that incredible power you have within you.
That's right. You've got this.